I woke up inside a trashy romance novel, and my assigned role was homeless person. Before I could even properly wallow in my new, rock-bottom reality, a platinum credit card landed in my lap. I don't want your money. Do you think you could just buy me? The main characters were screaming at each other, a classic lover's quarrel playing out on a New York City sidewalk. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Finally, the girl, Hannah, stormed off, leaving the guy fuming. I timidly switched on my phone's voice recorder, then cleared my throat. So, you still want this car back? If not, I'll gladly take it off your hands. The guy, Julian Croft, shot me an annoyed glare. It's yours. I scrambled after him. The pin? Please? Thank you. To my surprise, he was actually a decent guy about it, rattling off a string of numbers without breaking stride. I wanted to ask what the balance was, but he was already climbing into the back of a Blacktown car that sped away from a curb. So, I found the nearest ATM and typed in the code. I counted the zeros. 6 figures. $500,000. I immediately withdrew 10 grand. First stop, Bloomingdale's for a new outfit and the latest iPhone. Next, I checked into a suite at the plaza, took the best shower of my life, and passed out in a king-size bed. When I woke up, I just stared at the platinum card on the nightstand. A few hours ago, I was just another recent college graduate with a useless degree and zero job prospects. I'd spent last night hate scrolling through a novel I'd found online, and the next thing I knew, I was here. The worst part? I found the book so mind-numbingly stupid that I'd only read the summary in the comment section. The reviews were a minefield of warnings. Don't bother. The male lead is a possessive idiot whose entire personality is being obsessed with the girl. The female lead is the most infuriating drama queen I've ever read. It's almost impressive. Spoiler. In the end, the guy gives up his billion-dollar company to live a simple life with her on a farm. Seriously? Like farming is that easy? Who in their right mind would give up wealth and power to go suffer in a field? I'd immediately closed the tab. And because of that, I'd missed all the actual plot details. A gnawing hunger pulled me out of my thoughts. Time to find some food. I stepped out of the hotel, and of course, who do I see walking down the street? Hannah, the female lead, arm in arm with some other handsome guy. I vaguely remembered the book's tags mentioning a love triangle and some pretty aggressive persuasion tactics from the main guy. So, was Julian the cuckolded husband in this scenario? And proud of it? Before I could finish that thought, Julian Croft himself strode past me, his long legs eating up the pavement. Then he stopped. He shoved his phone in my face. The screen showed a picture of Hannah, looking all innocent and sweet. Have you seen her? I sucked in a breath. All my hunger vanished. He must have mistaken my silence for reluctance. $100,000, he said, his voice clipped. Tell me where she went. My eyes lit up. I fumbled for my phone, pulling on my Venmo QR code. Scam me. Thanks. Julian blinked, surprised for a second, but he didn't hesitate. The moment the notification popped up, I pointed to the hotel I'd just left. They went into a suite up there about 3 minutes ago. You can probably still catch them before. I didn't even get to finish. He was already storming toward the entrance, hammering on a door down the hall. Hannah Miller, open this door. I know you're in there. I leaned against my own doorframe, ready to enjoy the show. But before the drama could really kick off, Julian's assistant came sprinting down the hall, clutching a file. Mr. Croft, the deal went through. The contract is for $100 million. Sir, do you want to sign? In between banging on the door, Julian grabbed a pen and scrawled a messy, powerful signature on the document. Let Director Stevens handle the execution. Go find him and get the rest of this sorted out. The assistant, clearly used to this, nodded and scurried away. Just then, the door creaked open. The other guy stood there, a towel wrapped around his waist, his hair dripping wet. Julian, Hannah doesn't want to see you. His tone was challenging, and his abs were immaculate. He was being very generous with the view, but I didn't have time to appreciate it. I took off after Julian's assistant. I managed to catch the same elevator. Glancing over, I saw the project name on the contract. Just as I thought, something about ecological restoration. I knew that field. I had a shiny new degree in environmental engineering, a field notorious for being a career black hole. But here, maybe it was my golden ticket. After grabbing a quick dinner, I Googled Julian Croft Company, Croft Industries, and found the details of the project. I think I knew what I had to do. A week later, I acquired a tiny consulting firm based out of Hannah Miller's hometown. It was owned by her uncle, The first thing I did was pivot the company's focus to environmental consulting and promote her uncle, Mark Peterson, to manager. That's right, sweetie, I got a promotion and a raise. Mark's cheerful voice came through the phone. I nodded, satisfied. Just then, the firm's former owner called me. So, when are you planning to pay the final installment? I've got bills to pay, you know. What's the rush? I said breezily. The contract says 30 days. Look, I just don't get it. Why does a young woman like you want to buy my little company? It's not exactly a cash cow. He was an honest guy. I chuckled, just trying my hand at being the boss. Maybe it was the easy money Julian had given me, or maybe it was the trauma of graduating into unemployment. Either way, I wanted a taste of running the show. After hanging up, I called Mark in my new, albeit small, office. There's a project I want you to look into, I said, sliding a folder across the desk. This is your first big assignment as manager. I don't care what it takes. I want you to land it. Mark picked it up, his eyes widening. We're going to partner with them? Aren't they the biggest corporation in the country? I leaned back, trying to sound more confident than I felt. You got to think big. Why else would I have hired you? I made you manager because you've got grit, a real can-do attitude. Don't let me down. He looked skeptical, but he took the folder and left. I spent the next week personally drafting a killer proposal. When Croft Industries officially opened the bidding process, I called Mark. Boss, I'm sorry. I can't do this, he said, his voice full of defeat. They don't want to work with a no-name firm like ours. I tried to offer the guy a coffee, and he practically threw it back in my face. That was the old owner's playbook. It wasn't going to fly with a corporate giant. I didn't say anything. I just packed up my proposal, grabbed the contract, and flew to New York to meet him. Then, the two of us staked out Julian Croft's mansion in the Hamptons. The moment he appeared, I rushed forward with the proposal. We were immediately intercepted by his bodyguards. Hannah! Mark's shout cut through the air. Julian froze. The bodyguards loosened their grip. Just then, Hannah herself darted out of the house and back inside, wearing nothing but one of Julian's dress shirts, her long, pale legs a flash of white. After that, she didn't dare come back out. Julian was in front of us in 3 long strides. Who are you? I grabbed Mark, quickly introduced myself, and handed over my business card and the proposal. But Mark wrenched his arm free and stormed toward the front door. Hannah Miller, I saw you. What are you doing in there? Silence. Mark yelled again. You get out here right now. If you don't, I'll break your legs. Julian's face darkened as he looked at me. I gave him a helpless shrug. Beats me. He's a manager of my company. We're genuinely interested in the new eco-restoration project, Mr. Croft. If you just take a look at our proposal. Before I could finish, Hannah came out. She was fully dressed now, standing in front of her uncle with her head bowed. I nodded to myself, satisfied. The novel's summary hadn't lied. Hannah had been abandoned by her parents and raised by her uncle. She listened to him, and only him. Uncle Mark, let me explain, she pleaded, clutching his sleeve, her eyes welling up. My clothes just got wet, so I came to Mr. Croft's house to change. She then shot a desperate, pleading look at Julian. Mark looked utterly confused. Julian finally spoke. Uncle, why don't we discuss the project back at my office? I quickly grabbed Mark's arm. Yes, let's go to the office. Come on, don't you want that bonus? And just like that, Mark and I were escorted into Julian Croft's office. It was enormous, understated luxury, with everything you could possibly imagine. I want an office like this one day. Have we met before? Julian asked suddenly. I touched my face. Have we? Maybe you're mistaken, Mr. Croft. Or have you ever been to Columbus? He dropped the subject and started reading my proposal. When he finished, he made a quick call to his assistant. And just like that, my tiny, glorified shed of a company had made the shortlist. On the way back, Mark was still lost in thought. If you're worried, you should just call her and ask, I suggested, knowing full well Hannah would never tell him the truth. She and Julian had gotten married when they were 20, but she was so insecure and prone to drama that she demanded a divorce. Now, they were in the he grovels to win her back phase of the story. Apparently, their physical life was fantastic, which was why even when Hannah was technically dating other people, Julian was still the only man in her bed. Of course, her uncle knew none of this. That didn't stop him from calling her. A few minutes later, she showed up with the other guy in tow, trying to prove there was nothing going on between her and Julian. Her uncle was completely won over by the new boyfriend. See, this is what a girl needs. A normal man, to get married and have kids with. We can't be reaching for stars that are out of our league. Ouch. I was starting to see where Hannah's inferiority complex came from. Just then, Hannah pulled me aside. Well, my uncle went to see Julian. Mr. Croft. What was it about? I told her about the project. He probably only gave us a chance because of you. The color drained from her face. Can you back out of the deal? She asked, looking pained. What was she talking about? The contract was worth $5 million. Even after subcontracting most of the work, I stood to make at least $2 million. There was no way I was backing out. I don't want him to look down on me, she whispered. But this has nothing to do with him looking down on you. I mean, he might have given us a look because of you, but my proposal wasn't that bad, was it? Hannah's eyes were red as she grabbed my hand. How much? I'll pay you. Just drop the project. She looked so sincere. I felt a little torn. The contract is for $5 million. Are you offering to pay me $5 million? If she was, I'd happily walk away. As much as I wanted the experience, as much as I wanted to build something of my own. Money was money. Hannah pulled a credit card from her purse. I couldn't help myself. That card. Julian gave you that one too, didn't he? She snatched her hand back like she'd been burned, her expression turning to agony. Yes, it's his money. Everything is his. Fat tears started rolling down her cheeks. I panicked, wanting to slap myself. I glanced around nervously, praying that the CEO himself wouldn't show up. But of course there he was, walking toward us. As Julian got closer, I frantically tried to wipe Hannah's tears away. Hey, don't cry, please. You're going to get me bankrupted. I've read enough of these stories to know how this goes. One wrong move, and it's call my lawyer, ruin her life. But her tears wouldn't stop. In a moment of sheer desperation, I did the only thing I could think of. I started crying too, but louder. Miss Miller, you're right. We'll drop the project. Forget the money. As long as you're happy. Please, just be happy. I was putting it all on the line. Hannah looked up at me, stunned. But I can't let you take a loss like that. You've already put in so much work. I was sweating. I really didn't want to go bankrupt. In a flash, Julian was there. He only had eyes for Hannah. He swept her up into his arms and started to walk away. The other guy stood there, his face red with fury, while Mark was just dumbfounded. Hannah started to struggle, and then I heard Julian's gruff, domineering voice. Stop fighting me, or I'll kiss you right here. I clapped my hands over my ears. Was I really supposed to be hearing this? Mark ran up to me. What's going on? I glanced at the other guy, then back at him. I think Miss Miller twisted her ankle. Yeah, that's it. She twisted her ankle. I managed to convince myself. He and the other guy seemed to buy it, too. I hadn't even made it to the train station before Julian's assistant called. I apologize, but Mr. Croft has decided not to move forward with the project. However, he is offering you a generous compensation package for the breach of contract. He will also act as an official backer for your company. There's a major bid at the end of the month. Croft Industries would like to partner with you, with your firm taking the lead. This was huge. I had to physically pinch my lips together to keep from laughing out loud. Croft Industries, partnering with us and letting us take the lead? This was a lottery win. I'd take it. As soon as I hung up, the wire transfer for the contract termination hit my account. I counted the zeros. $2 million. So this was the magic of being a romance novel CEO. I literally did nothing. Nothing. Boss, are you feeling okay? Mark was looking at me, puzzled. I hadn't managed to wipe the grin off my face. He just stared. What's with you? Nothing. Just keep up the good work, Mark. You got a bright future ahead of you. I ducked into the nearest restroom and let myself laugh for 3 solid minutes. After composing myself, I called the project manager at Croft Industries. He'd clearly already been briefed, and the conversation went smoothly. Finally, he asked hesitantly, if you don't mind my asking, what is your relationship with Mr. Croft? I glanced over at Mark. No special relationship, I said coolly. I guess my proposal was just that good. The manager coughed. To be honest, your proposal. Well, never mind. I'll have someone on my team revise it for you. As for the other thing, if you don't want to say, that's fine. As expected from the top firm in the country, their efficiency was terrifying. By the time I got home, the revised proposal was in my inbox. The email politely said they had made a few minor adjustments. In reality, they had rewritten the entire thing. The only parts they'd kept were my punctuation. A painful memory surfaced. When I submitted my senior thesis, my professor had told me, "Excellent work. All the periods are in the right places." I forced a smile and typed back a reply. "My apologies. It was written by one of our new college interns. I'll have a word with her." The three dots indicating he was typing appeared and disappeared for a while. Finally, a passive-aggressive message came through. "That's odd. Mr. Peterson said you stayed up all night writing it yourself. He must have been mistaken. Whatever. I wasn't going to let it get to me. Instead, I studied their version, reading it twice that night, memorizing the structure and flow. The next morning, I sent it out to my entire team with the subject line, required reading. A month later, we won the bid. Riding on the coattails of Croft Industries, we landed several more projects. I hired a few grad students from Columbia and poached some experienced senior engineers with hefty salaries. The company started running like a well-oiled machine, and profits were climbing steadily. One day, Mark hovered around my office for a while before finally speaking up. "Boss, is there anything you need me to do?" I'd almost forgotten about him. He wasn't from a relevant field and had no experience, so he couldn't really manage the new hires. But I couldn't just sideline him. Based on my extensive knowledge of romance novels, you had to keep everyone close to the female lead happy. Project sourcing. "Mark, I want you to head up business development. I think you've got a real knack for it." "Really? What kind of projects?" "Just tell me what to do, boss." His eyes lit up. "Start with the West Coast. Let's expand our business out there. From now on, that market is all yours." Mark agreed without a second thought. I didn't expect him to cause a major incident almost as soon as he landed. Julian Croft, having somehow found my personal number, called me. "Mark Peterson works for you, doesn't he? Didn't I give you enough business? Is it not enough?" I was taken aback. "Well, the company is growing," I said honestly. "We have more mouths to feed. Tell him to come back. Tell him to stay away from Hannah, and I'll give you the projects myself." How does an annual $10 million contract sound? If you put it that way, how could I refuse? I agreed immediately and called Mark. "Things are crazy busy here. I need you back in the office to help out. We'll put the West Coast expansion on hold for now." He was a responsible guy. He was back in the office the next day. I thought for a moment, then said, "The company wants to invest in you. We've signed you up for an executive training program. When you come back, you can train the rest of the team. Think of it this way. You're not just learning for yourself, you're learning for all of us. We're just too swamped with projects to go. Don't worry, your salary is safe, and we'll give you a $300 per diem." The moment he heard per diem, he agreed. That afternoon, the new contract from Croft Industries arrived. I called a quick meeting. The main point was simple. We were going to use this opportunity to hone our skills. Quality above all else. Year-end bonuses would be tied to project performance. The more you contribute, the more you earn. Everyone was suddenly buzzing, completely energized, and throwing themselves into their work. A year went by like that. Everyone on the team improved at an incredible rate. The recent grads were especially impressive. Quick learners, creative thinkers, always one step ahead. The feedback from Croft Industries got better and better, with fewer and fewer revisions on our proposals and reports. But then, disaster struck. Hannah Miller had moved back to her hometown, which meant she and Julian had broken up. And our contract renewal with Croft Industries for the next year hadn't been signed yet. I had even started modeling our company's business direction on theirs, hiring talent across various sectors. I had a whole team of people waiting for those projects. This was a huge problem. Just then, an invitation from Mark popped into my inbox. "My niece is getting married. If you have time, boss, you should come for the celebration." I stared at the names on the invitation, and my heart sank. To be honest, after a year of rapid growth, my company could stand on its own. We'd even made a bit of a name for ourselves. We'd be fine, as long as I hadn't just hired another batch of people in anticipation of the Croft contracts. The Croft projects were easy, profitable, and because Julian gave us special treatment, we were the client who got to act like the customer. Everyone in my company loved working on them. Then Julian's call came through. I answered it right in front of Mark. "Mr. Croft, Happy New Year." "Oh, Hannah?" "Yes, she's getting married in a few days." "What? You want to come to the wedding?" Of course. I'll text you the address right away." I knew the main characters would get back together eventually. I might as well be the one to facilitate it. So, I went to the wedding. It wasn't a huge affair, but the bride and groom were ridiculously good-looking. The other guy was a certified 10, and Hannah was, of course, stunning, though she didn't look particularly happy. Then a low-key but obviously expensive black car pulled up. Hannah, standing at the entrance in her wedding dress, froze. Her expression was a strange mix of joy and sorrow. She muttered an excuse and slipped away. Naturally, I followed her, my interest purely professional. For the sake of future collaboration, of course. They were arguing in a secluded corner. My heart started to pound. Then, in one swift move, Julian pulled Hannah into his arms. She struggled, but he held her fast. He found his moment and kissed her. After a few more seconds of resistance, she melted. My worries had been for nothing. Just as the groom started walking in our direction, I quickly stepped out and spoke loudly. "Have you seen Hannah? I'm her uncle's boss. I just wanted to come and wish her well." I glanced back toward the corner. They were gone. "I was just looking for her, too," the groom said politely. "The reception is that way. Thank you for your good wishes." He was a nice guy. It was a shame that in these novels, anyone who competes with the male lead for the girl ends up miserable. For instance, having your bride disappear on your wedding day. I felt a wave of relief, left a $1,000 check as a gift, and headed out. As fate would have it, my car was parked right next to Julian's. The two of them were in the front seats, locked in a passionate kiss. They hadn't even bothered to roll up the windows, so I felt no guilt in watching. "Ah," Hannah yelped, startled, her eyes wide with terror as she saw me. The dark intensity in Julian's eyes faded, replaced by annoyance. I gave him a friendly wave. "Just here for the wedding." Hearing that, Hannah's face flushed with guilt. The tears started to flow, no doubt thinking about the groom she'd left standing alone at the altar. Julian shot me a warning glare. I got into my car and said casually, "It's pretty obvious you two are meant for each other, though." That seemed to please him. He tapped a few times on his phone, and a $100,000 transfer hit my account. I accepted it immediately. I'd earned it. Honestly, my moral compass was usually pretty solid. I wasn't a fan of this whole make her suffer, then grovel for forgiveness trope. But if saying a few words could get the male lead to throw money at me, well, it was honest work. Thanks to the hard work of my team and me, we kicked off the new year with nearly $20 million in contracts from Croft Industries. I'd heard through the grapevine that this wasn't just Julian's doing anymore. We had earned the respect of his mid-level management. But Mark started moping around the office. One day, he slumped into a chair in my office, his face a mask of misery. "Boss, you're a young woman. Would you ever date someone whose life is on a completely different level from yours?" I got it. He knew about Hannah and Julian. "Depends on how different," I said. "Very, very different. And there's bad blood between them." "What kind of bad blood?" I put down the contract I was reading and picked up my mug, suddenly interested. Mark sighed. "It's not his fault, personally, but it happened at his company. If your parents died in an accident while working for his company, and the company refused to pay proper compensation, could you accept him?" "I don't have parents. In this world, I was an orphan. In my real one, I was as good as one." I couldn't relate. "But you said it yourself. It wasn't Julian's fault, right?" Mark's eyes widened. "How did you know I was talking about him?" "Please, you basically spelled it out." He sighed again. "Why can't she just find a nice, stable guy to marry? Why does she have to get involved with someone like that? How many of those rich guys are actually good people?" Back when her parents died, Croft Industries did not handle it well. Your opinion depends on which side of the table you're on. I wasn't about to get into that debate. Soon enough, this issue led to the biggest fight yet between the main characters. Mark couldn't get in touch with Hannah, so he came to me for help. This put me in a tough spot. While my company wasn't completely dependent on Croft Industries anymore, the huge, profitable projects they gave us were too good to pass up. I couldn't afford to offend the big boss, but I also couldn't just refuse Mark. So I went to Julian's mansion alone, under the guise of discussing business. Croft Industries had a new $3 billion project in the works that I was very interested in, even though a company my size had no business bidding on it. "You're here for Hannah, aren't you?" Julian asked. He looked exhausted. I put my proposal on the table and shook my head. "No, I'm here to talk about the new project. My company has a business development department, Miss Chun. Are you trying to use the back door? It wouldn't be the first time. Besides, my company is very competitive now. Won't you at least take a look, Mr. Croft?" He gave me a long, hard look, then picked up the proposal. As he flipped through it, his expression changed to one of shock. "You've improved a lot." So, He didn't know that the first proposal I gave him over a year ago was complete garbage. But he was a true CEO. He didn't even flinch. Are you interested in a position at Croft Industries? What? I thought I'd misheard him. He repeated himself. Division manager. $3 million a year, plus stock options and bonuses. It was incredibly tempting. But then I remembered the end of the novel. Following a guy who'd trade his entire empire for a girl was career suicide. He eventually sold the company to go live a simple life with Hannah. I was different. I wanted to climb to the top. I wanted the parents who abandoned me to see that the daughter they cast aside was someone they could never hope to reach. Julian didn't press me. He called his VP right there and put in a good word for my company. As I was leaving, he called out to me. Are you sure you're not here to see Hannah? If it's convenient for you, Mr. Croft, I'd be happy to see her. His eyes lit up. She's pregnant. If you can convince her to keep the baby, I'll give you 3% of my shares in Croft Industries. So impulsive, but I loved it. I would gladly accept those shares. The moment the bedroom door opened, a pillow flew at my head. If you really want to hurt him, you should use that vase, not a fluffy pillow. Hannah looked even worse than Julian. The beauty was gone, replaced by a pale, drawn face. What are you doing here? If you're here to plead his case, you can leave. She subconsciously covered her stomach. I knew it. There was no way the female lead would ever get rid of the male lead's baby. She was just being dramatic. Your uncle asked me to come. Her eyes immediately reddened, and tears began to fall. I sat down beside her on the bed and touched the bowl of soup on the nightstand. It was still warm. You should eat something. We can talk after you've had some food. I have nothing to say to you. Your uncle has a message for you. She paused, then started eating. Outside the door, I could practically feel the so let out a sigh of relief. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Julian. Thank you. I wanted to reply, don't mention it. I'm just doing it for the shares. But a second later, a transfer notification popped up. CEOs. So practical. They really understood the art of persuasion. Hannah finished the whole bowl of soup. I told her, your uncle wants you to live well and take care of yourself. She looked touched. He's not mad at me. For what? For being with a man like him. I gave her a strange look. It wasn't like she'd just gotten together with Julian. And it wasn't like she didn't know her uncle. She knew he would disapprove, and she defied him anyway. So why all the agony now? I didn't get it, but I respected the drama. He might not be happy about it, but he definitely wants his niece to be happy. He told me about your parents, but that was a generation ago. If it bothers you that much, just make Julian leave Croft Industries. I thought my solution was perfect. We could fast forward to the ending. But Hannah refused. I can't do that to him. It wouldn't be fair. Then she started to cry again. This baby should have never happened. How could I be having his child? Seriously? What had she been doing before this? A guy as rich as Julian could definitely afford condoms. Of course, I didn't say that out loud. I was afraid Hannah would shatter, and Julian would tear me to pieces. Hey, the baby is innocent, I said softly. Imagine how sad he would be if he knew his own mother didn't want him. Hannah froze, looking at me with her red-rimmed eyes. I sighed. Look at me. My mother never wanted me. Her lips parted, her face filled with confusion. I told her my story. When my mom was pregnant, she was sure I was a boy. She was so excited. But when I was born a girl, she was so disappointed she never even held me. Later, when my dad had an affair, she blamed me for that, too. After they divorced, neither of them wanted me. Every kid wants to be wanted by their parents, to be loved by them, right? Suddenly, Hannah threw her arms around me, catching me completely off guard. I struggled for a second, then just let her hug me. I'll be a good mother to him, she said, her voice soft but firm. I'll look forward to his arrival. In that moment, I actually kind of liked this girl. And when I walked out of the mansion and received another wire transfer from Julian, I liked her even more. The partnership with Croft Industries went off without a hitch. But after that day, I never saw Julian or Hannah again. After leaving the mansion, I had a strange dream. I saw someone sitting at a computer, cursing in frustration. Who the hell is this character? She's messing up my entire plot. This isn't what I wrote at all. Why would the female lead want to keep the baby? She was supposed to take a pill, then the male lead would get furious and lock her up, and they would hurt each other. Ugh, why can't I edit this anymore? I have to stop this woman from interfering. I was almost certain that person was the author of the novel. After her forceful intervention, It felt like an invisible wall had gone up between me and the main characters. But it didn't stop my company from thriving. 3 years later, I was in Hong Kong for our IPO ceremony. On the same day, Mark Peterson handed me his resignation letter. "Thank you for everything these past few years, boss. My skills are limited, and I don't think I'm qualified to be the vice president anymore." I didn't take the letter. Why? "I'm planning to take Hannah abroad for a while, to rest." I was surprised. Mark gave a bitter smile. "I told you, two people from such different worlds can't be together. Julian and his secretary. Never mind. It's a family matter." I approved his resignation, but left his shares untouched. "The annual dividends will still be deposited into your account." He was shocked and bowed deeply. I smiled and said it was the least I could do. If it hadn't been for Hannah and her drama, I never would have gotten to where I am today. Of course, I had also worked my ass off. By now, my company no longer needed handouts from Julian. We could even be picky about which Croft Industries projects we took on. Not long after Mark left, Julian showed up. He looked more disheveled than ever, with a scruffy beard and a haggard expression. "Do you know where they went? I can give you any project you want. Pick one, and Croft Industries will give you its full support." His voice was raspy, and his eyes were locked on me. I took a slow sip of my coffee. "I heard they went abroad, but I don't know where." "Mr. Croft, maybe you should focus on your business. Croft Industries is currently—" He didn't let me finish. He shot up from his chair and left. Before he walked out, he repeated that I could have any project I wanted, but I didn't need them anymore. At the next major industry bid, my company beat Croft Industries. A flicker of shock finally crossed Julian's distracted face. It seemed he hadn't realized that while he was busy with his romantic drama, several new companies had risen in the city, and ours was the most formidable. In a way, I had him to thank. Most of my senior staff had learned the ropes working on his projects. I thought this would be a wake-up call for him, but instead, he rushed straight to the airport. "Mr. Croft has lost his mind," one of his top managers complained to a colleague. "Leaving the country at a time like this. Does he not know the company is in chaos?" I had a pretty good idea of what he was doing. Sure enough, it was all over the news the next day. A lavish public proposal in Washington, D.C. His face projected on a giant screen, kneeling on one knee, his expression full of love. Back home, Croft Industries' stock price plummeted. I bought some at just the right moment. Julian and Hannah cleared up their misunderstanding, and she returned to the country with him. Mark came to see me, asking for his old job back. I turned him down. "I'm sorry, that position has been filled." He was the reason my company had landed its first big break. As long as he hadn't quit, I would have never fired him. But since he chose to leave, I had no reason to keep someone on the payroll who no longer contributed. The annual dividends were his severance. No sooner had I dealt with Mark than Julian was on the phone. He wanted to partner on a new project, but the proposal he sent over was a mess. He hadn't improved at all over the years. I had my VP handle it. The proposal came back completely rewritten. Julian was not happy. "If you don't want to work with us, just say so. Since when do you beat around the bush, Chloe?" He hung up before I could explain. I sighed, but didn't bother calling back. I just bought more Croft Industries stock when the time was right, because next month was the novel's finale. That's when Julian would sell all his shares and go live a quiet life with Hannah. When that day came, I was sitting across the negotiation table from him. He stared at me for a long time, his face grim. "This was your plan all along, wasn't it?" I shook my head. In the beginning, I was just trying to survive. Then I wanted to build something, and as the company grew, I had no choice but to keep moving forward. It was a natural progression. "I'm offering you a fair price," I said. "You only need to sell me a portion of your shares. You'll still have a seat on the board." It was a tempting offer. He had built Croft Industries from the ground up. He was deeply attached to it. If he hadn't been so distracted by his love life, he wouldn't be in this position. And selling to me was better than selling to his ambitious, backstabbing cousin. In the end, he agreed. We signed the contract, and with the largest stake, I made my grand entrance into Croft Industries. I went to see Julian and Hannah off at the airport. They both looked strange. Hannah was clinging to him, the picture of blissful happiness, as if all her dreams had come true. But the smile on Julian's face seemed forced. He was staring at an advertisement on one of the large airport screens. That spot had always belonged to Croft Industries. Now, it was an ad for my company. Still, I wish them well. I hope you have a happy life together. Don't forget to invite me to the wedding. But but I never received an invitation. I thought maybe they'd just forgotten me, but it turned out they never got married at all. Julian came back alone. He came to see me, wanting to return to a working role at Croft Industries. But with his diminished shares, he had little power and needed my support. I asked him why. He gave a bitter smile. I want to take back what's mine. The light in his eyes was startlingly bright. In that moment, he was so sharp it was hard to look at him directly. Maybe that was the male lead's special power. And your wife? I don't have a wife. He looked down, a hint of sadness in his voice. The novel ended with them leaving the country to live happily ever after. But clearly, their story had continued, and it didn't seem very happy. Hannah and I broke up. We're not right for each other. She has the kids. I wasn't sure if this was a real breakup or just more romantic melodrama. Then I heard from a friend abroad that Hannah had fallen for someone else. A man who was just like the old Julian, ambitious, intense, and overbearing. The cycle of obsessive love was starting all over again for her. And Julian, with only his money left, had been relegated to the role of the sad ex-boyfriend. I had to admit, the world of this novel was incredibly kind to its female lead, having one top-tier man after another fall at her feet. Not that I cared. I just saw Julian as a very sharp tool. He was capable and intelligent. He'd just been prioritizing the wrong things. So, I gave him a chance. Even if he eventually took back control of Croft Industries, I would walk away with an immense fortune. I would finally have true financial freedom. It was a shame I could never show off to the parents who abandoned me. I could never go back to my own world. But it was pretty good here. In the world the author created, everything outside the story was a blank slate. In a way, it was a whole new life,